Takala Jogwala, they pay Padam Jello, Tashi the Lake. Then Sanjay Roti, Saji, Samba, Sam, Obaka Johnson, Deli, Chopaba, Tashi the
Dashitele to everyone following us on the live stream and everyone here. I'm offering you this ocean of immeasurable love and the milk from the Buddha's begging bowl. Dashitele.
The Omatonga Nagatonga Yoresi. Well, Tunja de Kong to Edging, I saw this. They also come up with that in the Tawari. We need Saji, something, some but say, but now. Sambat seven but the woman need to take a 17 of Jena. Then we all take a minute. Sambat semi on a sucking at any, say Kambagan Sunatini, Slangi or Maranga, Saji Simchi, Jamie Barry, some she, that are the Malari Sumban 19. Something the Tametoko or Tametoko. Don't let the Omada something somebody. Be done from the settler. Solidera or Jadi Kong, Armand, Toko, Toko, Mama. Yena, get out in the check in Sambat Sebiba, the Chima. Or Sambat Sebiba, same thing a minute, jumping at wood or then, we need to go with any, there is something Toko or Ma Toko or so the start took same day to take a Toko already.
And so, having said, I'm offering you this milk tea. I'm actually the one really drinking it. But then, if you think that, if you see it just like that, that's actually an ordinary dualistic view. Because what the Buddha really gave sentient beings is immeasurable love. And milk actually also flows from love. So the Buddha gave this love to all sentient beings. Or there's this prayer where we say, if you only give a spoonful of food to someone, or if you just give them a little bit of milk, if you give it with loving kindness or immeasurable love, they will receive that love because there is no self and other, and no outer and inner, there is no separation. Buddhas and sentient beings are indivisible. Milarepa also said that love is what everyone actually receives. And so the milk also comes from love. And so it seems externally that I'm the one drinking it, and you're not really getting it. But what I'm speaking about is actually love. And so that is what I'm really passing on. And because our mind is one, like a vast ocean, this love, this love of this milk, which is immeasurable love, from the ultimate perspective, is actually received. So you actually receive this milk of immeasurable love. So in brief, whoever gives rise to bodhicitta receives it.
Arbadan Domjen Jimba Bardu Juba Seba Tom Jeja Dorsebe Manong Kato Nyambe Senje Domje Deva Dante Yonga Danda Nirdalana Meba Yanda Yoba Sanjo Rinpoche Toba.
All mother sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. All mother sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment.
Maje bardo lunga yesum gevalako Tudere na zonda nyama zonda zomjeba
For that purpose, until I attain Buddhahood, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. Until death, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. From today until this time tomorrow, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. I take refuge until attaining, and Buddhas until attaining the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. Just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to bodhicitta and progressed along the Bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the Bodhisattva's path. I take refuge in the Buddhas until attaining the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. Just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to bodhicitta and progressed along the Bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the Bodhisattva's path. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. May all Mother Sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all Mother Sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion.
Darche Mention land Nelo Mandancho Purvel Sanje Toba Senjilo.
An infinite array of worlds, each with 4 continents and the wealth of infinite oceans of realms. If I bring them all to mind and offer them without exception, please hold with compassion all the beings they contain. My body, enjoyments, and whatever I own, my aggregates, elements, and sense sources, my aspirations now and in times to come, as well as everything I grasp as mine. By offering them all, may I be blessed with the end of self-grasping, completely liberated from the bounds of real and unreal, transcending the names and attributes of arising, cessation, and abiding, coming and going, affirmation and denial. The supreme mandala is the natural state. When I offer it, bless me to attain the state of Buddhahood.
Om Guru Deva Dhakana Rana Mandala Bhati Sova. Page 11. Sentient Nam Jia Sambhata Loya Sara Chedava Chechon Tu Monte Baye Chujen Kolo Gordu Su.
Please turn the wheel of the dharma, of the greater, lesser, and common vehicles, according to the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings.
다음에가 대하고를 대를 들리다 그렇지 로지럽 잡아서 내록 도성대 투박하는 매송을 그래서 투삼 타 주거나 투삼 타도 같으리 말하는데 왜 내록 도박 팔로 시합서 오는 매송 세부대로 것때 다 꽃도서 저거 좀 세미 봐잖아 세미 자식 못 차온 거래 내려서 특바치 정말 대성을 요래 특히 배에 잠소를 특바치 불러 진짜 이렇게 잡을 가는 거 봐서 잡을 동에서 랑 돌려봐가지고 잡을 가서 동에서 저도 저 차가 동네 초고요 세대 잠소는 잡을 가려 초투고요 이 동네 대인데 강 동네 대 나도 걸래 난 박차를 나못 봐라고 그래 나도 봐니 가까 말이야 이나 대답을 하고 듣고지 사적서 보면 통다 이다다 하고 듣고요 말이 던져시 방법이 사제세 장 운이 좋아라데 오 따뜻한 하고 차잖아 주도 몰라마 개비신이 답지 따뜻한 답을 요래지 소면 벌써 요래지 이나 님바고 탐시 사제에서 버리지 가가 말이 대로서 보이는 사례 강화수는 사질 강화를 세트는 거래. 그때 다음에 나게 주시에 그래도 로마에 사는 말이면서 세고 이제 대치 봐야 돼. 다들 메도들 같이 뭐지. 대로들 예상하게 대로 싸고요. 대는 사축도 주겠다 왔지. 대들 산지기 신을 따와는 조금 뭐는데 대답은 통로들이 되다. 강화수는 로아를 또 강화수나 산지기 신 감다 그래.
So, Dharma friends, then we continue from where we left off yesterday. So we are on the top of page 27, practicing the stages of prayer of the noble state of bodhicitta, entering the life example of the bodhisattvas, praying to view and to enter the view of Buddha fields. May I always behold as many pure lands as there are atoms present in each world, with inconceivable Buddhas sitting in the midst of their bodhisattvas and performing the activities of enlightenment. So the Buddhas are present on each atom. So, for example, to an ordinary person, the way we generally see things is that, for example, when a person lives in a certain town, then another one seems to be really far away, and then you have to go there. So it seems all very separate. So according to this perception here, all of the Buddhas and the Pure Lands are present in each atom, anywhere. On each, wherever we look, large or coarse, everything is pervaded by Buddhas and countless, limitless Pure Lands. Regarding the number of Buddhas, how many Buddhas there are, it is said in the Great Liberation Sutra, there are even more Buddhas than there are sand grains on the banks of the river Ganges. So you could possibly count them, 1, 10,000, hundreds of thousands, millions, and so on. But you could not count the number of Buddhas. There are inconceivable numbers of Buddhas. So this is how it is if we elaborate extensively. And so what the Bodhisattvas who see it this way have realized is that there is no self. They have realized the empty nature of the mind. And all this multitude arises from the empty nature of the mind. In the 37 practices, it says, appearances are one's own mind. So samsara and nirvana, everything arises from one's own mind. There is nothing that is not pervaded by the mind. So that is from an expansive perspective. But then if we gather it all into one essence, it all comes from the nature of the mind. So if we only realize the nature of the mind, we realize everything. In the Ganges Mahamudra, it says, a single lamp flame dispels the darkness of 1,000 aeons. So if you only realize the nature of the mind, you can realize everything. And so realizing the nature of the mind means to realize selflessness. The omniscient Longchen Rabcham had said, there is no higher learning than realizing the natural state of the mind. That is the ultimate learning or hearing. And also Milarepa said, aside from realizing the natural state of the mind, there is no other perfection of wisdom than that. So how do we realize the nature of the mind? We first cultivate the relative bodhicitta, the 4 immeasurables. And this makes our mind become vast. You've mentioned the difference between the different vehicles and said one of the inferior vehicles is like the water collecting in the footprint of a cow. So someone with a vast mind, they will be aware of all the suffering experienced by beings in the world, and they will feel it like it happens to themselves. For example, even if an animal experiences suffering, any suffering, coarse and subtle, will be felt. One will be aware of all the suffering because the mind has become vast like an ocean. So one can feel everything and one recognizes everything. And however, one also recognizes that this suffering is a temporary karmic perception due to afflictive emotions, like a cloud in the sky, and it won't always last. And so only those whose eyes of bodhicitta have opened can understand that. So there's a lot to be explained regarding just this verse, but in brief, so this term here, the Buddhas sitting in the midst of their bodhisattvas, or the children of the Buddhas. So in this world, there are many spiritual masters, many gurus of all kinds of levels. And they give teachings, and then there are those who listen to those teachings. But actually, there is no real separation between them. So this is my take on this verse, actually. So we say that there is those Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas surrounding them, but there is no separation. For example, when I'm here sitting, giving teachings, I don't think that, oh, here I'm the teacher and they are the disciples. We are all the same. We have a single basis of mind. The only difference is that maybe in one the flower has opened and in the other one not yet. But that's the only difference. So when one sees it in this way, it is described in this verse, then wherever one goes in the 6 realms of samsara will be seen as a Buddha Pure Land.
산지 정다와는 좋아서 대다와 대양들이 산쪽을 셈지는데 통화양 대다는 통대 산쪽대로 제물알베 통통화 섬요시 아무 지지만 통지 통시 본대게 지담지 물람다베 지막다베 통송시 드니지 남시만 통지 시통시 당아오냐면 남시대 서유 남바다 시반데 말이시 이 쉐드 둘이 탐지 찹대버라지 이 시이들 이 둘은 얘네 요고 예시서 탐지 시대 시시서서 남시방 동이시서 다도 다메베템 세다도 사자집에서 돈이 동무지는 마베반데 통고요래 다다다 동만이 시반 롱르고 엄마 다다와 그냥 삭 적시 삭시 맥직을 먼쳐보서 딱 받는 게 차대리 이제 뒤수고 우선 체보스 좀 말이 똑같죠 송지 체보스 삭치 말이 적시 말이 엄마 강을 때 책이는데 동물들이 랑그 세제대로 랑그 똑바리 그래서 랑그 내로 세미는 내로 통크는 다 데이터 우리 장어리 책을 놓더니 엄마는 되어요래 그랬는데 로그제우리 대외대 하고서 정말 다 주지는 남지만 도지 시통지 나오는 도도만 독시 다니면 도 나가다들이 세도 나가 체면 죽으롱도 줘 봐. 대 돈을 들이대다고 통투고요래. 대 통에 들이다다 양롱전에 감수랑 통과자에는 라트선 대식인 보죠. 강도상은 닦고시 서다로는 연하나 상하가 따와대다든지 다대 몇주다만 이거 상하 내력 때문에 강도상은 닦고시 서다로는 연하나 미리 차대요. 그래서 대답은 통투고래 된 통화됐다 뭐 주지만 뭐 주지 통성 대 통화는 들이도 산지지 정다 강도상은 딱 잡는 통투고래 산중 선바탈게 대다는 대달만에 손을 던져도 짜담 주는 좀 되니 사제자도 저는 까바자도 여는 요송 대 통성 동반이 짜냐마 저거 쇼도 동반이 될 때다 차당 상토도 동반이는 간도 여러 말이죠. 자고탐 제지 뭐 동반이 이거 뒤제 요래서 간도 요 말이죠. 파트나 혼대이가 야타 줘야 요 말이죠. 저다 줘도 또 붙어야 돼. 설들은 세번 내록 주고 대한 내록 이시되는 누구 요래서 대리더니 대다고들 짜냐 맞죠 존하다 책이 싫다는 제가 시에 망본 낭주에 대참을 요래서 대들 솔직히 한 탐세대 따도 따르는 족발을 먹어서 오늘 다 산지에서 지지 독산 대를 다들 상축 주바 주지도 하지 문제적 다진이 통화되더니 별나 쭉 마음대로 쭉 그리 내가 동네에 정하던 로아를 로서지 내 땅들다 농가도 통한데요. 문의의 질에 박사들 마당을 받고 민강적으로 이몽 민성성대양 이몽 독성 주차가 민강다 그래. 신강다 그래야지. 내일 졸리 되시고 통고 요래 되시고 뭐 사제고를 야 좋은 거 요래면 마음만 좋고 말이 데이터 송들이 솔직한 탐지 솔직한 탐지다 대란 거 고안다 대도 시작이 요래 얘네 되는데 송지 연락 좀 저기 자와 구형이나 나나만 놓고 이제 사지송으로 따는 쪽 관계에 그 사지에 송 가리라 특발 말때는 그때다 라는 것도 이제 들어가 거기서 또 빠지더니 또 소장 나서면에 소탈철 되다 이제는 이제 보는 소탈 상대 당에 이제는 뭐 잠깐 접고 선생타 줄 대타 줄 소탈도 너무 딱딱 더 차례 예비 좀 사성도 이제 피고 서로 되게 상속서도 막 창자래 잡던 카드는 지금 라게 린당 다 줘야래 그리 네 당당적으로 하다부터 이제 참아 답가리 돼 고아도가 샤트고 근데 답가리 돼 내가 초당 차그럼도 거대 이제 초당 차그럼도 그래서 하고들 다 취지지 특별 맞지 소지서 맞는 욕난 양 도다부분이 되더니 탑쪽으로 되다고 동쪽으로 동통에 담지 답과를 통하여 레시 통하되 말이 별로 맞아도 담보 취지 되니 취니 들이 남시 돼서 가린 통은 값들이 됐다고라는 게 좋아져야 요래서
So when one gives rise to bodhicitta, then one will see it in this way, so that all the atoms are pervaded by inconceivable Buddhas. And Milarepa said that there are three things I've seen. And so the first one is that I have seen that I do not see phenomena, but I see the nature of phenomena. So he has seen, he says, I have seen that all phenomena of samsara and nirvana are like dreams or like illusions. And so therefore, also, I do not see consciousness, I see only primordial wisdom. So this, with consciousness here, we mean the mind that is grasping at as self. He doesn't see that self, he just sees primordial awareness. And that is our primordial mind. It is the mind that has always been there, and it is called primordial wisdom because it knows all things. It is selfless. So he saw the empty nature of Mahamudra, the nature of the mind. And this is explained, for example, according to the scriptures. This empty nature is explained according to the scriptures by the view of the Madhyamaka, the middle way view. And according to the ultimate view of practice, it is explained in the teachings on Mahamudra and Dzogchen. But these three are just like one person having three great names. Lord Jigten Sumgön says that remaining untouched by the three great ones is the supreme realization. So being untouched by them means that we do not engage in conceptualizing Mahamudra, Dzogchen, or Madhyamaka. So what they all refer to is the realization of one's true nature, the nature of one's mind. And it really, the Madhyamaka, or the middle way, really gets to the essence of what the nature of the mind is. And so therefore Milarepa was able to say, I do not see this dualistic consciousness, I just see primordial wisdom. There is no more self, no more perception of self and others. He also said that when you realize that mind is like space, you have actualized the Dharmakaya. So when you see this, then you will naturally only see primordial wisdom. Also it is said elsewhere that within the boundless palace of the three realms dwells the Buddha nature. And so that wherever I go is a pure land, whoever I meet is a Yidam deity. So that is the actual view of secret mantra Vajrayana. And it is not just some fabrication, but it really is how things actually are. When one has realized the nature of the mind, then one really actually does see things like that. One sees everything as a pure land and everyone as a deity. So first Milarepa said, I do not see phenomena, but I see the nature of phenomena. And so the Bodhisattvas have seen the nature of how things really are, and therefore they are able to see everything as a pure land. And then the next verse says, one prays to enter the view of all realms in the 10 directions. In this way, may I be able to see everywhere, even on every mote of dust, countless Buddhas of the past, present, and future, limitless pure lands, and endless aeons. So when one sees it this way, when one sees the nature of the mind, one sees everything as empty. And within emptiness, there is no contradiction. It is said that when one sees emptiness, then one sees everything complete within a strand of hair, for example. Or also His Holiness the Dalai Lama had said, the quality of emptiness is that there is no contradiction. When you realize emptiness, you realize everything in samsara and nirvana. So the nature of the mind actually is primordial wisdom. As also regarding this verse, there is, of course, much to be said. But so in brief, there is no difference between Buddhas and sentient beings. So this is the realization of one who sees it this way. And for us, we may think that, but there are Buddhas and sentient beings. So we see things in a dualistic way. And so therefore our world of beings who see that way is called a Nirmanakaya Pure Land, where we experience both happiness and suffering, which is also illusory by nature. Even if we do experience temporary suffering in the 6 realms of samsara, it will only last for as long as the karma for it lasts. And then once the karma is purified, then the suffering won't last. So we can actually regard the suffering that we experience, for example, in the lower realms, as like a hospital where we heal from the 3 poisons, the afflictive emotions. And if you see it this way, you will actually see it as like a pure land. And then once you have purified that karma and you become liberated, eventually you will see Buddha nature. So whenever the karma becomes purified and you become liberated, you only go up, you don't go down. So this is now my understanding of this verse here, of praying to enter the view of all realms in the 10 directions. And then the next verse, praying to enter the Buddha's speech, may I always heed the pure speech of the victorious Buddhas, which hold within each word the totality of the perfect dharma and an ocean of languages precisely suited to the needs of each being. And so again, what I'm sharing is my own take on these verses. And so regarding the Buddha's speech, so there is the Pratimoksha, the Bodhisattva Yana, and the Vajrayana. The essence of the Pratimoksha, or the individual liberation, is to abandon harming others and its cause. So in brief, it means to resolve, I am not going to harm anyone else. And that's the essence of the Pratimoksha vows. And then the essence of the Bodhisattva vows is to accomplish the benefit of others and its cause. And that in brief is the wish to bring benefit to others. That's the essence of the Bodhisattva vow. And these essences actually are written on our refuge cards that you receive when you take refuge. And then regarding the secret mantra Vajrayana vows, it says there, when one is adept at the perception of the universe and beings as pure, that is the essence of the tantric vows. So that is when one is able to see everything as pure and understand that it is just, the mind of sentient beings is just like an ice block. The nature of ice is still water. So one understands samsara and nirvana in this way. So whichever of the three vehicles one enters, then ultimately one will be able to see things as pure as a result. As Milarepa had said, I do not see ordinary phenomena, I just see their nature, and I do not see dualistic consciousness, I see primordial wisdom. So when one sees things the way the bodhisattvas do, one can see it in this way.
Oh, Sanjay Stone, the Jesus Trinity, like a Jew that Johnny Yamson in Badeta, Geo service, some Jacob parties, Lunais of Givala Kurs, Data, Marani and Justice Wood, some Java Lunais of Givala, a Gomjaya Terry, some Katimo Gomjaya, Tracy Bayo Tenaris. Tracy Bayo, Carrera, don't count the Jolam chips, Jolam, 7 days up to the Judge Trinita, she did by it. Oh, Chimba di Trishi may ha cosson the tea married. Tribi shrap the Nigada, Nigate Trishi Sajeta. Saji song my shrap and Kiki song we already. Nigate shrap thought of we already. The Trishi Payul and Jopate, Saji Kara Nigo, don't know in after Lingo. They will say, Taji goes on a say. Oh, some my dead of a reminder give a good Tanga, Lee Coxon about Trishing, Lee, a whole lot of one. Some my dear, but they are quality. The Mashiba reminder give out, they got to get their out of worry. They said the Luna is a good couple gives our Tamchi, like a carrier Trishi, the Jokoyore. They have been suggested to the Muslim Jokoyore. Then this somebody, the rich song was a race on the Ranga Koare. The station was out. The Jinky was chilling hollow go on the one who Manga Batan did you want to
And then we go to page 29. I'm praying to enter the Dharma wheels expounded by the Tathagatas. May I possess the perfect intelligence to heed the endless melody of speech when the victorious Buddhas of the past, present, and future turn the wheels of Dharma. So in brief, when the Buddha turned the wheel of Dharma, he taught the four immeasurables. Immeasurable, in particular, immeasurable love and immeasurable compassion. On the relative level, and then on the ultimate level, from the ultimate perspective, through this bodhicitta, through love and compassion, then all afflicted thoughts can naturally dissolve or are liberated in their natural place. So this is the result of having practiced the Buddha's teachings. And the essence of practicing the Buddha's teachings is to sustain mindfulness and awareness, even though the Buddha gave very specific teachings for specific individuals. There are many different teachings. We can divide them into millions of different teachings, but actually it all is really summarized within that, within mindfulness and awareness. For example, in our opening prayers, this verse by Chikden Somgön, it says, "Until I attain enlightenment, I will apply my body, speech, and mind towards you." So that is also to practice according to the Buddha's instructions. And that means, to me, this verse means I'm going to meditate until I attain enlightenment. And that means I'm going to sustain mindfulness and awareness. In the 37 practices, in the end, it says, in brief, in whatever you do, always look at your mind. What is the state of my mind? And in this way, constantly sustaining a state of mindfulness and awareness, you accomplish the benefit of others. So this mindfulness is not just something that you sort of understand, I have understood that, now I have to be mindful, but it arises out of something. It arises out of compassion. So out of compassion arises wisdom. So the Buddha taught you need both wisdom and compassion. If you have compassion, then wisdom, clear awareness will arise from that. And so if you practice this, you are listening to the Buddha's instructions and you are practicing them on the ultimate level. For example, when you go to sleep, then you remember this verse, I'm going to practice virtue with body, speech, and mind until I attain enlightenment. And don't think, now I'm going to sleep, but you fall asleep with mindfulness, maybe remembering the hung and so forth, and then you fall asleep. And then you're always actually practicing. Or the second prayer says, I'm going to apply my body, speech, and mind for as long as I live. So for as long as I live, I'm going to practice mindfulness. So again, this is my take on this verse.
라라 치는데로 가사 간도는 돈은 인도는 대답을 사정스모 로스지 yin 피바 다친 좀 딱하다 막나 다만 피바다 대화 좀 다만다 게다라 요래 참에 다서지 맞지 맹고라들이 같이 대화자 사자 락바방이 잡다고요 맞지 가는 길에서 들이매요래 같이 맞지 맹칠 랑상대 잡아대 나오는데 호로랑을 랑을 그래서 괜히 제발까지 이게 참아 가면면이 다 산속스가 산속 세용을 다 피바다 되면 내가 또 이랑 소리 있다는데 바오마고 대도 차고요. 가지를 좀 것들랑 나세자 다도 그렇게 됐다더니 먹게다 답지 거서 내가 따모이는데 자고 친구는다 좀 다르더니 서면은 낭종강 생종강은 라왕다 아니면 말에 이러면서 자탕라라고 참고서 왔더니 샤설을 못 보여요. 호소랑랑 낭종강은 쪽에 되나오요. 중요한 것이 비마다 데빌에도 담게라 대원 조과는 못 봐도 산적스는 조과라 대도 매 세계시 와대 돈나 라도나 마찬 인도로 되는 이거나 매봐 동해는 봐 산적 선바지 되면 대다들이 소소가 제일 합당전에 대진직과 따지 대규열은 조과야 돼 대생적으로 만식이 산지 바고 담지 산지가 남살다 따지 대지마 대답지 베티는 직디는 나나 다다다 대답을 이 바오 만자지 게티 취지 강소라 요래 뜻까지 봐들이 저 담에 출국도 많이 봐 강라 피바도 좀 담지 대답을 차는 거 요래지 대답을 다 하고 산적서 밖에 롭다는 소 그린서 보는 문이도 산적서 못 봐래서 대답들이 산적서 bekannene 가서 대식이 못 참아는 요래 얘네들 삼바다 니게를 도치는다 딜용하여서 사왔던 탐지 따뜻한 좀 많이 쓰게 내바 탐지 대답을 마음벌 대답은 요나 대탐지 산적서부터 말해 sam 랑아 대지선 조가 대인사래지 따뜻하다 저마르기만 남다도 저마르기만 남다도 록티 지스랑 지스랑 옹에테로 제고 상대는 이제 가게 지세랑 공부하다 들이랑 거리가 각 탑탑 대다 좁아 상모지야 상모 좁아지야 대인사래 돼
And then praying to enter the gateway of eons. May I accomplish the Bodhisattva's practice of entering the past, present, and future in a fraction of a second. May I know in a single instant all that is encompassed in the duration of the 3 times. And then praying to view the Tathagatas and to enter their activities. May I behold all the heroic Buddhas of the past, present, and future in a single instant. May I always perform their activities through the power of liberation from illusion. So, say that in the English. So, it seems like that I don't see that here in the English, but in the Tibetan it says like a lion, or the heroic. Okay, so it says literally the lion of men, or like the heroic Buddhas here. So, what makes one heroic? A Bodhisattva is heroic because they only strive for the welfare of others. They do not have any self-grasping. They are like heroes. They're heroic, courageous. So they are the lions among humans. And they appear all over the world in many different forms. There are many people in the world who give up their own life for others, for other people. And then there is other people who are not even able to tolerate their own difficulties. They're completely tied up by self-grasping. And even though they might be wealthy, many of them end up committing suicide. Because self-grasping is like ice, and this ice, as it solidifies, it eventually cracks and breaks. The bodhisattvas who work for the benefit of others are able to forsake their own life for the benefit of others. And that's not only in the Dharma, it happens also in the world. We find examples of that all over the place. There is many great beings who give up their life force for others, who help others. There are many famous people. When we hear their name, naturally we feel great respect and devotion to them, for them, and we may naturally join our palms in prayer and remember their kindness. And then there's others, when we hear their name, then we think that, oh, this criminal, and we get really angry. So what's the difference here? The difference is bodhicitta. Those that we venerate are bodhisattvas. They engage in activities to benefit and help others. They give up even their own life force for the sake of others. They are that courageous. And then there is others, like those that we think are criminals. They in the end often even end up committing suicide, or a great powerful king, for example, ends up in prison himself. In a way, puts himself into prison. So there are many different examples of that in the world. But so entering their activities, the activities of those heroic beings, those lions among men, among humans, it means to give up our selfish pursuits and strive after the welfare of others. And so those great beings are fearless. They do not fear any suffering. They will do whatever it takes for others. So here it's also helpful to read the life examples of those great heroic beings and remember their kindness. There are many great heroic beings in the world, not just in the Dharma, also in the ordinary mundane world. There are many nirmanakayas all around the world. For example, a school teacher can be a real bodhisattva. And so ultimately everyone possesses Buddha nature, but then there are those beings who engage in activities with body and speech that are motivated by a mind of love and compassion. And these are those great heroic beings that have appeared in the past and that will also continue to appear in the future. So this is an aspiration prayer to follow their conduct, to follow their example. And then this prayer is also, in a way, a rejoicing. We are rejoicing in their heroic activities, and then resolve, I want to be like that. May I also be able to engage in activities like that.
강양 뜻은 다 그시고 어디다 더득도 뭔가 drop. 뒤섬들 다 대파다 마음보다다 섬 지금 창거래. 이들이 신감 장미 받아 강의들이 신감 집안에 내와 친구 내와들이 강의들 능이 매받아라. 다시 감다 뻗다고 시작하면 강다들 이들이 섬에 다서 세시감 낭제감 사무시감 섬이 오래돼. 세시간 소비들이 네 소비를 시작하는 거 장매 봐요 그래서 나는 시작한다 근데 삼바다 니지 저 대리송하게 들이다 나버리나 가시를 동행을 가시를 대화를 대답이 되는 게 단축생이 뒤되어 나는 단축생에서 탐체다 라우 대리 시작하면 차걸 싸우 시작하면 이제 동답 대화 저 통축의 대화 지 몰라 제체매 봐 단지구 매 봐. wrong me ba la ni so de wrong me be shikam de shikam chok de ta ye chuk shikam de de da ne da shikam chong de ne da ro ro chok chama chuk shikam cha do de ni de ro ro shikam ro de ni song su ne de ni ben pin kan da wo le me de chama shikam ro tong de yo le de le sa je je sheng mo ba de ba ro ba la mo ba ji de da ji de 양은 삼도 이제 저거요 말이 동이 탐색에 동이는 다 대화 지마서 대화 다 동이는 다 대화데 호화되다 그러지 네 동이 매번 대화 접거든요 다 동이 체도 쓰는 사족들을 다도 상대가 잠이 좀 쳐서 말하지 탐지 시작한 건 아니지 듣고 시작하면 변해지 내 동성이 차이자 버려 딴데 코는 버치서 로는 게 거래 내 대가 파시에 요래.
And then on page 31, praying to enter the perfectly complete Buddha fields. May I perceive upon a single atom the perfect design of the pure realms of the past, present, and future. Thus may I enter into the realms of the victorious Buddhas in all directions. So those pure lands, may I see the perfect design of all those pure lands. So what is actually a pure land? So there are infinite pure lands, and a pure land is a place of great bliss where there is no suffering. That is what we call a pure land. And so what is pure in that pure land is that self-grasping or dualistic grasping is purified. And then there is an outer, inner, and secret aspect to pure lands. The outer pure land, or pure lands, are the limitless pure lands in the 10 directions. The inner pure lands arise from love and compassion. So on the inner level, an inner aspect of a pure land is that it arises out of love and compassion. In this world, there are some people who suffer a lot and some people who are more happy. It is all a manifestation of love or a lack of love. When one gives rise to bodhicitta, from this, the pure lands manifest. The pure lands are the natural reflection of bodhicitta. And then the secret aspect of a pure land is that when one sees the ultimate truth, one realizes the greatly blissful dharmakaya. The dharmakaya transcends birth and death, arising and decline, coming and going, as it is said in the 37 practices. That is a dharmakaya pure land. And the 6 realms of samsara are a nirmanakaya pure land. Actually, even the suffering in the 3 lower realms is like a hospital. So a bodhisattva can see it all as a pure land. So we are praying here to enter the perfectly complete Buddha fields. So from a samsaric perspective, we see things in a dualistic way. So when there's suffering has happiness on kind of its other side, and happiness has suffering on its other side. That is samsara. But the ultimate pure land is a place where there is only great bliss that is devoid of all suffering. And the bodhisattvas have attained that state because they have willingly taken on suffering for the sake of others. Like the Buddha has accumulated merit throughout 3 endless aeons. In the end, he was able to see everything as a pure land, or this world as a nirmanakaya pure land. And so again, this is all my take on this, but you should certainly discuss that with the great masters here.
강양 정직대 로마나 대다른 창장 콜로 영인 대바라도 전하는 거 보고 저도 나셔서 농가리데 대인식바 남지 정든 로안에 족발 뭐봐 어제 이따따대 남지 동문에 지지와는 좋은 거는 족발 뭐봐 성리 강양 당직대 로마 대탑지야 름바 저들이 사지 추정 콜로 콜로들이 저기 가나 팬나 그러나 대답 냠들이 대비지와 대답 때 사소스버 조는 취님 받아들이 대들이 뭐라 산쪽세 뭐 받은 쪽바라더니 모함작요래지 대리인사래지 뭐 그저도 다 안쳐들이 대라 선낭상성을 선낭상을 서들을 막 계신이 조는 조네들이라고 취니지 벌점지 난가리지 지양마라고 산쪽 샘지바가 샘이제도 요라 들이 다다만들이 controller te pata civil nigeria yi che nang te 산쪽 샘을 so 대책 niveau 산지 탐지 냠는 단다리 요마 so 샘 대책 좀 못해 단달 매바 때 동시선 때리 들이 적디 카노라지 사제 강을 치죠 걸로 걸나 제냠도 샘때 사지 레리 쪽들이 랑다고 이렇게 찹되어서 하고는 돈이 좀 없나 내 사지 줘봐라 샘진을 노동제바 송다 원평용 쓰고 요리 돈이 그때 매기도 따왕 도면이 체거들이 내가 족과당 뭐바는 족과 탐지 답이 용딩들이 양시가 사례데 마게들이 다다데 무슨 저 라마게시 대파시로 모는 것도 분도 요리 샘지를 되는 모나다 사족세 뭐바는 족과서 사족세는 족제지 하나 대탐지 일다다 배용되다고 송요리 대 양당한테 되는 뭐는 자 지수님 베세버라 되는 뭐는 자꾸 요리 대비지 관람도 좋은 좋아하는 조금 뭐
And then praying to enter into the presence of the Tathagatas, when the illuminators of the worlds of the future realize the stages of Buddhahood, turn the wheel and enter the profound peace of Nirvana, may I always be in their presence. So the Buddha appeared in this world and he turned the wheel of Dharma. And whenever a Buddha appears in the world to turn the wheel of Dharma, he is surrounded by Bodhisattvas who listen to his Dharma teachings. And that is due to the power of the aspiration of bodhicitta, the aspiring and engaging bodhicitta. And so this also has an outer, inner, and a secret aspect. And the outer aspect is that there are the external gurus, the spiritual teachers who teach the Dharma. There are those who listen to the Dharma, and in this way the Dharma is increased. And then the inner aspect is that if one has bodhicitta as a basis, if one brings this basis of bodhicitta with one from previous lives, then now in this life one will have devotion to the three jewels and compassion for sentient beings naturally. So the inner aspect is bodhicitta. And the secret aspect is Buddha nature. So those who listen to the Dharma and the Buddhas are not separate from each other. We are beyond coming or beyond meeting and parting. We are always together with the Buddhas as those who listen into the teachings. So what this means to me is that whenever a Buddha appears anywhere in the world to teach the Dharma, to turn the Dharma wheel, he will be surrounded by his own emanations that display the listening to the Dharma teachings. And so this verse also relates to the levels of realizing emptiness. Because when one realizes some emptiness, then one appears as a Buddha, and for the sake of others, one also manifests those around one who listen to the Dharma teachings. So there are many different levels of realizing emptiness. And so this particular verse to me is talking about the quality of this aspiration prayer that a Buddha has had to propagate the Buddha's teachings and to act for the benefit of others. So it is really the power of aspiration prayer. And then we are praying to enter into their presence as the ones who are listening to the Dharma. And so we are. So it speaks about the benefits of entering and having already entered into that conduct in previous lives. And in order not to forget that, in order to always remember that, one sustains this aspiration by praying again and again to be in their presence.
랑게 제지 네 생활 내록되는 대바지로 섭지 생성을 초반만 되고 초반 벌고는 섭지는 사바된 이제고 섭지 동제고는 그래서 이제 생활 내록도 저것들이 남상때 파절때 럽트고 요사를 그런 요들 그리고 고이트 보통 남당서 그리고 고이트 보통 니들이 다 특별한 바 라소와 특별하시 바되지는 고아지 요래 다 년퇴제 특별하고 다 랑집부들 소설 탈바들 다 랑집부 탈에 되게 도리기 타봐서 또 특대 도리 살 것도 요래 도리처럼 가서 그래 사적서부터 봐도 다랑 야동 야가 톱네 이 진동 상전 매발 말도 다적서 톱도 특별하시 바되 다 상하 도리 특별하는 상하 그 추는 냠설랑나 이 도리 정보방을 톱톱을 빼는 다른 빼는 남들은 다 지렇게 가시데 답은 도서고 요래 가시데 난 나팔고 하자 대도 되고 또도 거기 되고 또도 대답지 용진 성고 요래 내가 하자 자치 모르는데 와 자치면은 망보송동에서 담는 시시면은 근데 여러분 저들 고려 거에서 근데 용디 주고 또는데 용디 주로 다다다 라고 용디 같이 용을 뒤도 그런 배만 질는데 와도 나랑이 그지네 근데 차바 사바타기 또 그런 게 손나도 다 당서 근데 차바 사바타 뒤들은 거 좋아지 뭐지도 뭐 중들이 다 삼바도 맞지나 당연히 가는 평금도 섭지 상태 빼나 가시랑 거 좁고지 나오나 대 나도 람상 심 도저번에 가르치지 야 좁고 많이 봐이 지금 딱 나를 잡고 나가 요리 세가 요리 살면 그냥 초와 지금은 너는 초와 때 제디 들리는 거 상속 섭지 요리 초와 때리 삼바라 때리 니게 제가도 그 양게 대도 다 랑 좁고 터지지 삼바 재미고 이제 소소 대상 모드는 쏙차 타와 너미는 통도고도 다다 재미게 송거 요리 재미게 냠도 드니 삼바 재미가 와 재미 다녀더니 송거 요리데 문이 냠서는 삼바 재미게 삼로다는 다다 소소 쏙차 타와 너미하고도 그걸 너미 가래로 대대 내가 피바대와 럽다고 들을 술람 다 타고 술람 들을 타고도 그거는 가래 술람이 집어다 라게 줄 지 삼바데 이제 술람 때리도 다다 무슨 배샤도 톰나 배샤 사야만 뭐 톰나 이마들 밤절 차송이 야 답로로 별래 대다 이제 술만 매를 대다 네 사자기를 시는 송요래 소남 속자 동도 봐 님은 오지 뒤바 매스 베베 속자 동도 봐 마음이 이제는 나와져 배투 찌버리들 잡아대들 맞다 말이잖아 다다 수보다 바고 저러 다다 수보대 상면 다다 나타 공원에 대다원 때는 손남 두개지 저기 손남이 다 삼체를 저 시스템 제정을 들은 요래 대대 손남의 강의 정보도 되나 니게린 정보도 니게의 강의 정보도 되나 이게 재미고 삼바를 정보는 삼바는 그 상칼페나 자캅들 자캅이고인데 자캅이고 단지 자캅이고 차고 자캅이 이만해 말이 삼바들 삼바 체비만 샘지 탐지로 와도 샘지 탐지 대하고지 이 내가 탑에 가리채고는 그것도 나지를 때리 동네지 정도래지 동네자와 나지를 때리는 유모같이 띠레사 띠 유모 독들랑 마음을 다다다 너를 무슨 차요래지 제 작업을 줘 차요래지 차요는 대를 가리고 두고도 시골 따싸봐 인피를 놓고도 대치는 리기고도 리기를 고소라 니게 되게 고소 니게 밀에 되잖아 자로 자디는 어때 니만을 자 쉬어도 봐 고소를 니게 팽거도 때때 이제 로마 담지 때들은 용띠 가면에 로마 담지 때때 가지 가르도 때가 고소가 아주 삼바에 니까들이 랑가 지금 맞체들 다 강에 탐색 좋았는데 삼바도 니게 띠용띠를 상한테 삼바 재미도 하다 짜치도 띠용띠 하고 이제 다 탐정하고 이 시금에 다시 망보요사리 내년으로 걸로 고에서 보다 근데 용띠 잡았다는데 삼바 재미도 오나 들이랑 게 남아지나 벤티체가 다른 걸 보면 보다 충만하다 코도 yap고 차고리 삼는 디야가 된 낭된 토보치보 차로요래. 삼바면은 나야 보샤고스. 나 그냥 굳이 이거 똑같은 이거 거들어 줘냐고 빼셔 먹었다고. 너무 대대들 나치고 저지고는 이거도 다 동행적으로 요래 배는 사바들 코돌 피고 살로데우선 남지게들이 그걸 잡아 사바다고 또 대다고 사바체 메바데 하다 그지 버리도 서 들라게 될 초월자에 그래서 차차를 저데 좀만 탐네 피셈이 제거도 피셈이 제라 피셈이 다랑을 핑거도 코돌 얘가 핑거도 들이랑을 핑바다 얘는 대화데 니를 제랑 그냥 용적으로 뭐도 뭐 인다다 특토리나 시라게 두고요 말했지.
And then, page 33, I'm praying to accomplish the 10 powers of Bodhisattvas. I'm praying for the powers that bring forth attainment. May I accomplish the power of miraculous swiftness, the power of perfection of every spiritual path, the power of all virtuous qualities, the power of all pervasive loving kindness, the power of the merit of every virtue, the power of all transcendent wisdom, and the powers of perfect knowledge, method, and meditation. There is a lot to be said about those 10 powers, and I'm also not able to give a very detailed commentary on that. This first term here that I will go into, so the power of the virtuous qualities. Now, when we develop faith in just an instant, or we develop love and compassion for sentient beings for just an instant, that pervades all the Pure Lands and becomes an offering. And when one realizes the nature of the mind on the basis of love and compassion, and this can be instantly accomplished. And then, so there is the power of different spiritual paths. So the different vehicles. So regarding the vehicles, for example, there is the Shravaka vehicle or the Pratimoksha individual liberation vehicle. And so here the mental scope is lesser. One wishes for one's own, the individual liberation or the state of the higher realms. And then in the Bodhisattva vehicle, one has overcome one's own selfish concerns and one acts for the benefit of others. And in the Vajrayana vehicle, and through practice in the Vajrayana, one can attain the state of the Buddha Vajradhara. So, for example, nowadays, practice in the Vajrayana is like flying in an airplane, for example. Nowadays, scientists are even able to travel to the moon and to travel through space. And that is all a quality, of wisdom. Again, regarding these terms, these would require much more extensive commentary that I'm not able to give. I will just give a brief take on these. But the most important one here actually is the power of all pervasive loving kindness. And this is really one that generates a very strong feeling within myself. Because if we do not develop immeasurable love, then all of these other qualities are of not much benefit. So, for example, when you have love, you love a friend, for example, and you hear that your friend gets sick. When you hear that, then immediately you're affected by it, as though somebody would hit you in the head with a rock. You would immediately feel very upset about your friend being sick. But then if somebody gets sick who is not your friend, and you hear, this person is sick and they're not really your friend, then you don't really feel much about that. And you feel like, this person is sick. But it doesn't really affect you in any way. So that when a feeling arises, it's that feeling of love that we must develop into immeasurable love or bodhicitta. And from immeasurable love arises immeasurable compassion. So first we think about the love that we have for our friends, and then we increase that towards all. And when we have immeasurable love, we are able to see the smallest suffering in any being, even a small animal, for example. And that is an actual just personal experience that I'm really sharing. So we normally speak about the 4 immeasurables: immeasurable love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. But not from an actual experience, my own personal experience. They are interrelated. So when I see a small being, like an animal, for example, suffering, then it affects me, and I feel that, and I want to help them. And I will do what I can to benefit them. And in that way, I've already accumulated great merit. Because merit is that mind of love and compassion. For example, when somebody gives you a lot of money, you receive a lot of money, that's not necessarily merit. Even if you receive millions of dollars, maybe one day the money loses its value and then you have really lost everything. But it's different than the wealth of merit that we gain. That is never lost. So when you develop love for others, this merit, love for others who encounter difficulties, it is you are directly benefiting them, because it is what they need, what their ice block of self-grasping needs is the sun, and you are shining the sun on them, and the ice block can melt. And so in the Sakya's words of excellent advice regarding merit, it says that the merit, when somebody who possesses merit, for someone who possesses merit, things will arise automatically, naturally, just like the sun shining shining on everything. And for those who do not have merit, who only rely on their efforts are like the lamp or the fire flame of a butter lamp. So any effort that we may make is impermanent if it's not based on real merit. For example, if one is rich, one may end up poor, or if one is healthy, one may end up sick if one doesn't have merit. And merit, again, means to possess love. And there's many different levels of love that we can have. But from this merit of love arises some compassion. For example, if you think that may everyone in this country be well, I want everyone to be happy, but then you just think about this country, not the other country, then that's not immeasurable love. Immeasurable love is to think that may all sentient beings in the 6 realms be happy and well. And then how can they be happy? They suffer because of self-grasping. Because of self-grasping, they develop the afflictive emotions and accumulate karma. And the 6 afflictive emotions lead to the appearance of the 6 realms of samsara, like a temporary ice block. So what does an ice block need to melt? It needs the warmth of love or altruism. We need to have compassion. And so that is what they are lacking, which is why they are like an ice block. So we shine our sun on them and the ice block melts. And so we have benefited them in this way through our compassion. For example, there's some disciples who love me even though I don't have much learning, many great qualities. But because I also love them, they love me. So it's really the kindness of love that we share this connection. Whenever I've encountered difficulties in this life, I remembered the quality of love and compassion. So really, immeasurable love is really most precious. And this is really the most important line here. When you have love, even in an ordinary context, in a family, for example, then you would think that may they be happy. May my spouse or my child, my companion, may they be well and happy. If that is your attitude, then you will naturally be harmonious at home. But if you do not have this attitude, then you may just think, well, most important is that things work out for me and I have to be happy. And the child has to listen to what I say because I'm paying for things and so on. Or you might think I'm the one who's doing everything. And if you think in this way, then there's only misery and you're creating suffering in your home. So instead of that, develop this power of love and just think, as long as they are happy, I want to benefit them. So this one is really the most important one, the power of all-pervasive loving kindness. And for example, this is just my own personal experience. When I see a little animal, for example, that suffers, I want to help them. And even if I can't help them, I really want to help them. I have a wish to benefit them. And that wish benefits others and oneself. Or it benefits yourself and brings happiness to others. So again, I'm sharing these words on the basis of my own personal experience. But aside from that, I do not know how to give a proper commentary on the words.
Give us a lot of that. Chapman, but you should also. Give us a lot of the couple, give us a one, give us a data. Give a chung, jealousy, something he did, but you're a symbol in your door. Taradini, give us another Chapman, but you should also. And these are not and then that you moan, you hear bang jerky some. Data call your income. Sotalang Panga, something like Gerati, something like Juraka. Oh, the Multitudes had it in the Sharijo after the robotic getting Mochi Sanchez to get on to get over you, Charlie, not Chang Chansa Jago. Oh, master, you don't chat at Jagger. Two chat up in the more Rashi Jagger. The Rashi Jagger, this had a shaking. At the Jagger only. You come chat, jab. Because the 3 year part of the data or the Sanchok Mountain, Yin don't talk in a carina, Radu Gustang, the Yin, sort of the data or the Sanchok Mountain, Drama or Yori. Everything Chapa may purchase the shit on the don't need Chapa Mina or the Chapa, Chapa Corona or the Chapa, Shedang Taji, do Chala, they don't Shedang Sarton, the Bogdan, Nanton, Cotorji, Tarton Song Dorji, Reton Top Dorji, so Sarton, they don't talk Dorji, the 3 7 near the left to go or the Yapon baby, she thought. She told the carriage that sometimes 7 year old mother, Charles knew what the same Charles knew what the car saved the carriage. Like 7 year old, she is there. Oh, she had done long come. I don't seem sour. But I had something she done something to teach me, but so carriage on something. Oh, there are 7 year old told left there. There's she done me long time. She said. Oh, she does a photo. Little parody, Danny, parody, Daddy Johnson, she like sharing all. May a parody running in a maraba, they look at the Hako. Then they come, she don't call it cheers, she don't tell a carrier, she don't call or chuckle. Not protect them. Oh, she don't shut on me. Parody, she don't as a yurtil, maraba Hakon. There is Tata, she don't throw it on me. 다른 코로를 더 바로 기모게트 봐. 대문 중거리에 가장 시장을 대응이 양도 오때만 토마토 양시랑 양당인데 되게 내서 그거리 이 시기 또 집어도 데이터가 요리 내 유몽 강도 돌려 내록도 좀 되니까 유몽이 실은 줄 알았어. 그래서 다 가지 밖에서 뭐리 네 기타 잡은 남별로 유몽도 셈지지 제스 유몽그랑 이 시다나 동안에 듣다가 잡서는 유몽 동마디 시간은 멘트바데 책 자라나면 안에 매일 책 봐. 이 책부터 특부터 또 돌아가면서 나는데 냠냠 같은 딱 보면 카가 돌아서 그래 피마요. Bashing manager to the data, Yishito, Sibati, they also young data, you already. Many Gonjama subject in Yamyong, Tiri, gave long to the Jasela, so they are thin and Jerry, kitchen with your head, Yishito.
Then the next one here is the power of all transcendent wisdom. I'm just looking at the Tibetan. So it's the Rinpoche explained that it's So in the Tibetan it says it is the power of wisdom that is without attachment. So now, even if we engage in a very minor virtuous act, if it is motivated by great love and compassion, then it becomes a very significant virtuous act. So again, then there are 3 different ways in which we tackle the afflictive emotions. So either we abandon them, we transform them, or we know their nature. The pratimoksha, or individual liberation, abandons them. The bodhisattvas transform them. There's one story about that actually. In the old days when the Buddha was alive, there was a girl in a family that the Buddha visited with one of his Gelong monks, Upawa, and this girl fell in love with this monk, and she wanted to marry him. And he said, I'm a follower of the Buddha, I'm a monk, I will not get married. And she said, if you don't marry me, I will commit suicide. And so then that monk was distressed, and he shared that with the Buddha, and the Buddha told him, then you have to marry her. And so then they got married. And so this is, for an example, just of a bodhisattva who would give up their own benefit for the sake of others. So when it comes down to benefiting others, a bodhisattva would do anything for others. And there's many stories like that. And that is one example of this non-attachment, this primordial wisdom, the power of the primordial wisdom that is without attachment. And so when there is no attachment, then even the afflictions become like an offering. For example, that is because attachment or desire is transformed into bliss, emptiness. Hatred is transformed into clarity, emptiness, and ignorance into appearance, emptiness. Or they are called the 3 vajras. The vajra of empty form, the vajra of empty sound, the vajra of empty mind or empty awareness. When one realizes the nature of mind, one realizes empty awareness, the clear and empty awareness. And that is this power of unattached primordial wisdom. If one does not realize the nature of the mind, and an afflictive emotion arises, one will immediately have a reaction. One will react and act on this affliction. So instead, try to look at the affliction when it arises first. So when anger arises, for example, before reacting, look at the anger. And you will find that when the mind is angry, it is also very clear. That is the nature of anger. And the nature of anger is also to completely wipe out all other thoughts. So, for example, even love. You love the other person, but the moment you get angry, that love is completely gone momentarily. So the anger is so powerful that it wipes out all thinking, all thoughts, and it is very clear. So what really happens when you look at it as you get angry is you come to the nature of the mind. And that is why we say anger is mirror-like wisdom. So from that perspective, actually you will see anger as a good thing because it enhances your clear awareness. So the experience to gain here is that when you get angry at someone, for example, then you don't think of the other person, and you also recognize that the other person does not inherently exist. and you just look at your nature, the nature of anger. And when you look at the anger without looking at the other person, then momentarily, instantly, it has wiped out all other thoughts and the mind is totally clear. So it is clear and empty without any other thoughts. So that is the experience to gain with anger, for example. And when you really gain this experience, then the anger may arise momentarily, but when you see its essence, then it will be cleared away and no residual feeling will be left behind. And you will be able to laugh, for example, with the other person. But if you do not gain this experience, then the fault of anger is that you might get angry at that person today, and then you forget about it, and then you see them again the next day. When you see them again, it triggers your anger again. And this is how we actually accumulate karma. So when one has realized the nature of the mind, so this unattached primordial wisdom, then the afflictive emotion becomes transformed into primordial wisdom. In the Kagyu, it is also said that when one recognizes, one knows the nature of afflictive emotions, all suffering becomes a blissful ocean of nectar. Then if the 5 poisons are transformed into the 5 wisdoms, which is just like wood being burned away by fire. If you develop this fire, it can burn away any amount of wood. But so this is something, whether or not you can actually burn the wood of the afflictions really depends on your own experience. And that is to say that an understanding alone will not help you burn away that wood of the afflictions. That alone is not beneficial. Now you have to actually gain an experience in that. You have to practice it. And so I myself have a little bit of experience in that. And there are others too who have an actual experience of that. And actually this experience is also related to that verse in the 37 practices on patience. All those who do harm, to those who desire a wealth of virtue, all those who do harm are like a precious treasure. So again, this connection is also very important. So this is the power of the unattached primordial wisdom.